People, this your boy KennyKlutch coming at you live out of Jacksonville, Florida. We at the beaches, library, baby. 100% coming at you with a nice juicy one, baby. We on day 11, hitting you with a nice one. Basically, we talking about primary greatness on today's issue. We got my man Stephen Covey. Basically, you might know him from the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. But today we're gonna work on a concept called primary greatness. Check him out. Primary greatness of my man Stephen Covey. Talks basically about 12 levels of success. You know, when you're dealing with levels, you're dealing with mechanical motion, moving mountains, moving big obstacles out the way. My man Archimedes said, if you give me a long enough level, I could move the world. That's big because that goes to show you big aspirations, things that you have going down inside of you, places where you're trying to grow and grow. So you definitely have to have primary greatness. Let's jump on into this one. We're talking different things on how we live in today's society. People think small, some people think micro, and just like we mismanage our finances from time to time, we might mismanage our thoughts. So two big things that Steve Covey is talking about is transitioning from an obsession of secondary greatness, which is basically the outer things that we tend to take stock in, versus the inner things, which is a focus on where we need to go and grow, which is the primary greatness. We're not going to get too deep into it because they have a lot of categories of efficiency here, but we're just going to break it down so we can understand the size of primary and secondary greatness. This is just an introduction, page 12. According to Dr. Stephen Covey, primary greatness is the kind of success that comes from contribution. Let's stop right there. When you think about contribution, what do you give to yourself? What do you give to others? Paying close attention to different things, your health, your wealth, your mental sanity, all things are contributory, the laws of reciprocation. All right, keep moving. By contrast, the trappings of success, basically related to positions, popularity, public image, are secondary greatness, and he kind of warns about this. When you see the actions and behaviors of celebrities, famous athletes, CEOs, movie actors, or whatever, you're seeing secondary greatness. These are things that are outside of you. And people might have it going on, but that's not inside of you. So the secondary greatness is anything peripheral, on the side, in the rear view, in front of you. They can have an aspirational nature connected to them, but it shouldn't be your primary focus. Kind of like envy. If you envy somebody so much that you want what they have, but you're now focusing on adjusting your own inner lens to correct that picture, you really can't see the big picture when you're in the frame. You just stuck. So basically, you want to take that focus from off that secondary greatness, which is outside of you, which basically becomes a social obsession, and return that energy into an inward focus, which should be your primary concern. Let's keep moving. Primary greatness is on the inside. It's about character. Secondary greatness is on the outside. Basically, twofold. Things that you do, decisions that you make on a daily basis. We already talked about how much time you have in a day's time, 24 hours, 86,400 seconds. When you talk about social recognition for talents, it might be one thing that you see another person doing that you want to receive that same light from, but that's them. So basically, it's a long-term relationship. You're also going to have these things over the course of your life. You're going to have these battles between what you feel is primary and secondary, but we always need to keep a good focus on it. All right, moving to page 13. A successful life, according to Dr. Covey, is about primary greatness, a life of duty, honor, integrity, perseverance, self-sacrifice, and service, regardless of material rewards or circumstances. Let's stop right there. I like to think that he kind of put that out there basically because it's there for us to make ourselves think that even though it's our life, our talents and aspirations are meant to help others. So if you live a life of servitude, then all the things that you need are going to come your way. You might not get all the wants, but you can definitely get the needs met, especially if you lead a life of primary greatness based on these recommendations. Let's keep moving. These are natural, universal, unbreakable principles. They are the same for everyone, everywhere, and for all time. Going for secondary greatness without primary greatness doesn't work. People don't build successful lives on the unstable sands of what is outwardly or temporarily popular, but they do build successful lives on the bedrock of principles that do not change. Let's pause right there. So important to recognize that things like fads, we hear the things, the E word, the ebonics, trends, different things. These things are good for their own time, but they don't last the test of time. So everything has its own little ebb and flow, but you want to keep that stability and work on primary greatness. Let me give you all the 12 primary greatness ideas, the levels that Covey talks about. Then we're going to get the verse of the day, then we're going to be out. All right, we're going to flip right on into this. Going to keep it moving. All right, bam. In this book, Dr. Covey describes how to make that important journey from an obsession with secondary greatness to a focus on primary greatness. He then describes 12 of the highest leverage principles successful people live by, giving guidance as to how to internalize those principles. Remember, primary greatness is dealing with having a great inner peace and working on those pieces that'll make you whole. And then we're dealing with the principles of secondary greatness. These are things outward that you can use kind of like as a carrot to lead you along, but don't forget about the inner connection that you need to do to sustain that integrity. All right, that leads us to the first of the 12. First one is integrity. That's the first level, the state of being whole and undivided. The second one is contribution, and that's important when you're dealing with contribution. Is what do you give? How do you give? And what do you give off? Especially energy. All right. He notes with contribution, it's the principle of leaving a meaningful legacy, of making a positive difference. Okay. Third one is priority. And with priority, he mentions that living the principle of priority enables us to make that contribution without losing our way in the thick or thin of things. That takes us to, stressful situations, balance, health and wealth, soul, different things like that. And then, when you have down times, when you have a resiliency issue, things like that. All right. Fourth one is dealing with personal sacrifice. And Covey discusses it's impossible to achieve any lasting legacy without personal sacrifice. Basically, what we're referencing to here is a sense of service to others and begin to understand what it means to go beyond the ego and taste true success by helping others. The next one is responsibility. And this is a natural principle. This is a drive that is neglected more often now than not. Nobody has any trouble taking responsibility for success, but the distinction between people of primary and secondary greatness becomes very clear when it's time to account for things that don't work out too well. Basically, I like to interpret that as, when things go well for you, we all say it's our fault. It's to our doing. But when things don't go well for you, we have a sense of responsibility for ownership in those areas. All right. Loyalty. Loyalty is a big one too, because that's the natural consequence of serving others. Dedicated service. Service is in there too, so we bring that service thing out. What can you begin to go beyond the ego and taste true success? That's service. Reciprocity is the next one. That's a biggie because, like the laws of the universe, what you give out is what you're going to get back. It's just as constant as the law of gravity. We all have consequences of our daily actions paid over to us at the end of every minute of our lives. And the balance can be in our favor or against us, the law of reciprocity. All right, next is diversity. And when he approaches diversity right here, this is at the core of our being. If we want to maximize our life and our livelihood, you definitely have to have diversity, which is why we're on this quest of the 100 days of diversity. We're just on day 11, but think about 100 days at a time. Okay. Next, Covey talks about continuous learning. And that's a definite thing, because when we talk about continuous learning, as you can see in the background, we have lots of books, lots of options. And I always say education is free, but you always have to pay time and attention. Let that one sink in. So continuous learning is something that you learn new every day, what you give to someone every day, and also being a sponge to be able to pick up something new from someone else. Second to the last one is renewal. And what Covey discusses here in renewal is basically how we all face the natural consequences of both stagnation and irrelevance. I like to talk about stagnation for a minute, because stagnation is a close cousin to procrastination. And this affects the whole nation. At some point in time, we've all had this, this period of time where we feel like we're stuck from the inside out too most times. But remember, most of our limitations are usually self-imposed. And then when we think about irrelevance, that's what we feel like, okay, well, I'm not worthy, or I don't feel like I have anything to give, or I don't feel like I'm as important as I used to be. That's what the Road to Renaissance is all about. So when we striving for a sense of continuous learning and self-renewal, these things go hand in hand. All right, and last on these 12 levers of primary greatness is teaching to learn. And what Covey does when he examines this one is basically looking at teaching to learn, which is becoming not just an exemplar, but a teacher of primary greatness. When we look at putting these whole things together, the exemplar means don't just take it. Don't just get all this stuff and then it just stays inside of you. Find somebody to give it to. Give them a website, give them a call, give them a sense of encouragement, give them a verse. Somebody needs your help today. So when we put all these levels together, you make your life easier and more fruitful. And according to Covey, he says by using these levels, you strengthen your character and your influence with other people. So you definitely want to get this one, folks, as we wrap up. This is Primary Greatness by my man Stephen Covey, the 12 levels of success. Go get you one. Alright, we're going to give you a nice little tip on a few things right quick. From my man Zig Ziglar, Little Book of Big Quotes. Today we're working with page 18 on integrity. If standard of living is your major objective, quality of life almost never improves. But if quality of life is your number one objective, your standard of living almost always improves. Ability can take you to the top, but it takes character to keep you there. And one last one. Keep your thinking right and your business will be right. So we on the business of this Road to Renaissance, baby. We're going to hit you with 3 verses, then we out. We're going to start off with Psalms 145, verse 3. And all all three of these connect with greatness. When we talk about getting you a Bible app, get you one on your phone. Psalms 145 verse 3. NIV version, by the way. Great is the Lord and most worthy of praise. His greatness no one can fathom. Second verse, Psalm 135 verse 5. I know that the Lord is great, that our Lord is greater than all gods. And last but not least, we're dealing with Ezekiel 38:23. And so I will show my greatness and my holiness, and I will make myself known in the sight of many nations. Then they will know that I am the Lord. What's up, baby? This your boy KennyKlutch coming at you live out of Jacksonville, Florida, USA, day 11. Peace out to you. What's up, my people? Moms, pops, my sister, my family at home. What's up, my nieces? What's up, my wife, Denise? What's happening with y'all? Hit your boy up. Check the websites out. And don't pull the trigger tonight. We out.